Hello, welcome to the Retail Talks. I'm Dunya, Marketing Team Lead at Fiscal Solutions, and today we're going to talk about NRF Recap. Our team has just returned from NRF 2026 in New York, the world's most important retail technology event. And today is not going to be just about listing booths or repeating press releases. This episode is about what actually changed this year and what retailers, POS vendors, and technology partners need to prepare for next. And before we dive in, a quick note for those of you who are operating in Bosnia and Herzegovina. If you are wondering how the new fiscalization law will impact your system, operations, or timelines, we're hosting a focused webinar next Thursday at 3 p.m., where our experts will break down the legal changes and what they mean in practice. If you'd like to join, please register via the QR code that you can see on the screen. So now let's continue with our main topic today. With me are three colleagues who experienced NRF firsthand. Darko Pavić, CEO of Fiscal Solutions.
Hi.
Milan, hi, Darko. Milan Lazarević, General Manager at Fiscal Solutions. And hello, Milan. And Dušan Bučevac, our Sales Manager.
Hello, guys.
Hi, thank you all for joining me today. So I want to start with a simple question, and this question is mostly for Darko and Milan, since this was Dušan's first NRF. What was different at NRF 2026 compared to previous years?
Shall I start?
You can start.
Okay. Well, where to start? I think first, let me just give you a couple of words about NRF and why we are going there, actually. So it was our sixth NRF for Milan and me, I mean. I was a little bit longer there, a couple of NRFs before there, but in total, it's our, as a company-wise, as a team, already the sixth one. Why we are going there, actually? Because the NRF is place to be. Because if you are talking about technologies in retail, about solutions in retail, this is the place where you can see all the innovations which are happening, and even more, you can learn a lot, of course. You can understand why certain things are happening, and you can prepare your own roadmaps, let's say, for the upcoming time and upcoming years. So that's why NRF is not only important for us in order to talk to the customers and possible users of our solutions, but also to understand what is the direction of retail tech and maybe how should we correct our path, let's say, and direction that we are heading to. So what was different? I think this time was more excited everything, because I saw, of course, AI is hype and everything is created around that hype. So you feel really that energy, so that everybody is hyped about something totally new. Retail usually is very rich in the new things, and you have always the new innovations, but AI is changing that energy a lot. So you could feel that all the time. Another point which I think it was important and interesting, the distribution of the visitors changed a little bit as well. Usually the first day is not that visited, but the second then is a peak, and the third one is already less again. This time, the first 2 days were both of them a peak, let's say, lots of visitors. The third one was a little bit less. So this is change in comparison to other years. And I think it was more visited than years before. Maybe the numbers, I'm not sure what are the official numbers, but I feel like it was much more than in previous years. We didn't get you.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you for your insight. Milan, what about you? What's your impression?
Yeah, speaking about NRF, Darko already mentioned some of the most visible things at NRF. I agree with everything stated. So it's hard to find something else. I think there was a lot of interaction. There was really crowded on Sunday as well, the same as on Monday, which is the second day. I agree with that. And I couldn't, but this is also more or less the same every year, but some of the companies and their stands shrink, but some of the companies and their stand grow. So it's, it was, from that, let's say, view perspective, it was a bit different because I would say that marketing investment, at least from my perspective, in general, was less than it used to be previous years. Just to add something different from whatever Darko said, everything like he stated is actually what is most important. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So Darko, did NRF feel more mature this year, like less experimentation and more execution?
I think this question is not fair. Why? Because the NRF is happening since more than 100 years. Can you imagine that? More than 100 years. So whatever those guys are doing, it's always very mature because they know how to do it. They are professionals. Beside that, the mentality of US is very marketing driven. So these companies and these people and these organizers and whoever, they know how to do marketing and how to make it successful. So I think even if they are experimenting with certain things, like for example AI stage, which was for the first time this time, they are always really on point and they are always great in the organization. So I cannot say not one point which was not good in the organization or where I could say this could be done better because it's for the first time or something like that. So from my point of view, it's absolutely perfect, as each year you know exactly what to do, where to get your badges, where to get these or that information, which kind of sticker do you need at the end of the show, and all these things which exhibitors actually needs. And the customers which are visiting, they don't see that because they're just coming to chat about certain industrial topics. But everything else, what is happening behind the scene, is already very mature.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Milan, from an operational perspective, did you feel that retailers were talking more about systems rather than features?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people have been talking about the system much more than a features itself, because focus was on end-to-end architecture, actually how the systems are connected rather than what one module can do. Then there was also focus on integration and interoperability of existing platforms, scalability and resilience of the system in a production environment, meaning variable demand, omni-channel AI, and operational efficiency rather than a shiny feature. So the message was clear. The differentiator was the system stability, flexibility, and ability to adapt to the quick changes in the operations of the store. In the other words, it was a question what system can was less conversation about what system can do, but rather how that all together is working in a production.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, thank you. And Dušan, what were people asking for at booth? Were they asking for vision or solution?
Honestly, Dunja, being my first time there, I expected a lot more sci-fi talk. I mean, they were robots running all over the place, cleaning or doing whatever, and a lot of innovations, as Darko mentioned. But what I actually heard at the booths was much more practical, because people were asking about, they were not talking or asking for the future of retail in next 15 or 20 years. They were asking, how does this fix my problem today? And the shift that I saw was from what is possible to how do I integrate this into my own environment. So I can say that it was much less about the vision on the big screens and so on, and much more about the reality of implementation.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that's a good signal, at least I think also for us. Okay, well, I'd like to start with the topic about AI, since I think also based on, well, since I wasn't in New York, but based on the press releases and everything, one team dominated nearly every conversation. AI is no longer a feature, it's becoming the interface. So there were announcements such as Google and Walmart deepening their partnership, Google introducing an AI shopping standard created in cooperation with Shopify, the rise of authentic commerce. So the implication is kind of big. AI agents may soon decide what gets bought. So, Darko, if AI agents become the primary shopping interface, who is the real customer, the human or the AI?
Very philosophical question. I think, let me start with a sentence, primer or secondary channel. I don't think that AI agents will become the most important channel where you are selling something. I think they will become one of the channels, which is actually good. But on the other side, it's making the situation on the retailer side quite complex, because then we will have even more dimensions of the multi-channel retailing, because suddenly you have something which is totally different, which is more mechanical, let's say, technical, and this is AI agentic way of buying the things. So that's why I think it will be one of the channels and not the even probably not the major channel, because somebody will like simply more going into the store, and somebody will like more e-commerce and clicking by himself, and others will love AI agents which will do the job for them. So I think that's why it will not be either but or. So this is one important point. Another important point, if we are thinking about AI channels or AI commerce, let's say AI agents, then we see a huge shift in the way how the products are presented, how the marketing is done, how the processes are organized, and even how the fiscalization is done. Because suddenly you have on the other side systems which cannot see your advertisement, for example, or which maybe don't understand the definitions of the products which you have today in your shops. So all these topics have to be changed. You have to change or even forget the advertisement as you had it till yesterday, because AI agents don't see the billboards, You have to change product catalogs because they are expecting different information in order to be included in all those AI models like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. So that's why the changes which are happening on the technical side, on the retailer side, are really, really huge. And then on top, we have topics like compliance in certain areas, in certain countries, very complex, which are today even not thinking about AI agent way of handling VATs, but we will have to do that. So that's why, yes, it's nice for the end user. It's an additional way to purchase something, but it's making lots of things very complicated. And that's what I saw as well on the NRF. And people are today working on the basics still. So we still have to find a way how to do the data enrichment, for example, in order to have enough data in the product catalogs, in order to be presentable, let's say, in the AI-based stores. We have to generate data which are not existing. That's why we have a synthetic data, which is something totally new. So these technologies are, let's say, the base which we need in order to run AI agents. What you see from the marketing point of view, if you go through on the floor of the NRF trade show, you see, of course, buzzwords, AI agents, AI commerce, and so on. But we are still missing certain elements of the basic technologies. So that's why I think first the basis has to be done, and then we will see the huge and faster development of AI agents. Coming back, who is the customer? To answer your question, who is actually the customer? I think both parties are the customers. Person means human, and technology means AI agents.
Understood. But what do you think this will do to branding, loyalty, and differentiation?
If we just think about the channel AI agents, it will kill it. Very simple. Because for the brand, you need relationship. The brands are becoming brands only if I think that they are brands. I, as a representative, not the guy who is deciding, but as a representative of a consumer. So if consumer thinks and feels, and this is the point, feels that something is good for him, he creates relationship to that entity, which we call later brand. And now suddenly you don't have that kind of possibility to develop the emotions between products which are sold and the end user means a human being, because somebody in between is making the decisions not based on the emotions, but based on the data catalogs, which are maybe even synthetical. So this means the loyalty has to be defined totally differently. The brands have to think totally differently, because suddenly I cannot play with the relationship with the end user. So that's why the changes that are coming will be much bigger than the changes that we see today. So we just started with let's say, the huge influence of AI agents and AI way of doing retail, and the changes will be huge.
Yeah, I agree. Especially as a marketer, I believe there's going to be, I mean, there already are a lot of changes when it comes to the marketing game. But Milan, from an operational side, if AI's agents are placing orders, comparing prices, and optimizing baskets, what does that mean for retail systems underneath POS, middleware, fiscal services?
From my perspective, this is definitely going to have a huge implication and influence on the retail systems beneath the surface, because POS will not be center of the system any longer. It becomes the endpoint, so not the brain, because transactions, they can appear outside the store, outside the POS system, and as mentioned, as Darko just mentioned, without even interaction of the human. That means that POS must be API first, quick and stateless, and ready to receive the decision already by the AI agent instead of building it on its own. Middleware infrastructure is also middleware as a middleware becomes the critical infrastructure, because it's orchestrator for the AI-driven flows like pricing, availability, substitution, real-time layer for the rules, validations, limitations like promotions, loyalty, compliance, and then also protection layer between the AI agents and a core system. And third point related to the fiscal services, they must be fully automatized, because AI agent, if AI agent is actually initiating the transaction, fiscalization must work in a real time without any manual steps. System itself, they must be able to support this headless transaction, which is actually coming from the outside system. So altogether, these AI agents are breaking the classic retail architecture, and the key point or the center of the system is moving from the POS to the event-driven, API-based, and compliance-aware platforms, where middleware and fiscal services are becoming equally important as the checkout itself.
Okay, yeah, sounds complicated. Thank you. So, Dušan, did retailers talk about AI agents as something real or as something still theoretical?
It's definitely becoming a real thing, but there is a lot of skepticism, healthy skepticism. But in the conversation that I had, retailers are not looking for a chatbot. They are actually looking for Darko already mentioned the term agentic commerce, which I believe is just a fancy way of saying for an AI that can actually do something like process a return or find an alternative to the item that is out of the stock. And it's definitely moving out of the theory phase because big companies like Google or Shopify are already setting the standards right now. But for the average retailer, I believe it's still a focus on, will this agent actually help my customers, or is it going to just to frustrate them? But actually, they are very cautious, but they are definitely starting to test it.
Okay, thank you for that insight. So, yeah, there's a lot of hype about AI, but of course, AI wasn't the only signal at NRF. People were also, talking a lot about retail tech execution, especially around automation and self-service. So, Milana, did you have time to go through that section and see which technologies or startups felt genuinely useful, not just impressive on the slide?
Yes, many. Some of them are impressive only on the slides, but there are, of course, a lot of technologies that have a real use in a production, in a real life. We mentioned it several times during this conversation, and that the AI is actually taking over. So a lot of different solutions that are powered by the AI, from being able to compare the pricing, or actually to try on certain elements, or just to be able to do different things with the stocks and this and that. I would still speak about a couple of other elements that are also interesting. There was one of the company promoting the computer vision platform that have ability to solve the really concrete problem about empty shelves, where it automatically detects out of the stock and errors in a planogram from shelf space plan without any need for any manual checks. That was one solution that was kind of interesting and has the real that you can use it in a real life. Then another one was related to a solution for the smart data capture, because there is a problem in the or challenge in the retail environment where these scanning devices are quite expensive, and these companies actually implementing the software which can be used on the regular phone, which is directly speeding up the inventory picking and work of the employees in the store. And the third company or the product that I would mention was related to the payment and tax APIs, where this platform enables headless checkout and automatized tax logic, which is key when the transactions are launched by AI agents and not the classic POS system. So there have been a lot of solutions which can be used in the production for sure.
Yeah, and they sound pretty useful. So, Darko, where do you see real adoption happening in the next in the next year or two?
In the area of AI, or in general, or self-service, or?
Well, I would say in the area of self-service, some of these new inventions that Milan mentioned, or maybe what you saw.
Yeah, let me share with you a couple of thoughts related to the startups, because I was very surprised, but not because of the quantity of startups. It was huger and bigger than last year, so this is okay, and most of them are related to AI. 99% of them for sure. But I was a little bit surprised about some of the ideas, which are really, really unbelievable. And one of those ideas I have to share with you is related to the mailings. Usually very old marketing instrument where you send millions of mails in order to reach your audience and to sell something. And usually you are creating that in a very simple way. You create a template of your email and you send the same template to everyone. But just the part which is changing in that case is the name of the person which is actually targeted in that moment. So this is the way how we are doing it today. These guys created something very special. They create for each of those mails, means persons actually on behind, an AI agent. And that AI agent has a target to travel around the internet and to collect the information about that person. Means that AI agent knows exactly, or more or less exactly, who is the person behind the email. So instead of sending one template to every person on your mailing list, every agent is taking responsibility to send just one email to one person behind the email, which was or who was investigated in detail based on the internet data which are available in the internet. This is really huge, because suddenly you as a customer will get an email which is exactly according to your needs, emotions, and so on. I can imagine that this is selling much better, of course, because it's a hyper-personalized from my point of view. So this is really great idea and very useful connection between AI agents, and use case for retail, let's say. Another area of the startups, which I mentioned a little bit before, are the startups which are doing like research on the basis, let's say, like creating synthetical data. I was very surprised as I understood why those synthetical data are so important. You can imagine that we have today lots of LLMs, means the AI models which are common in the world and leading the game, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and so on. And those guys consumed already all the knowledge which is existing. Can you imagine that? Everything what we have published today on some way is already consumed. There is nothing new to learn. That's it. They have everything. And now the question is how to train those AI models further, how to push them, let's say, to reach the new heights. And this is done by the synthetical data. Now we are generating the data which are based on the statistics, probabilities, and conclusions, and these kind of things. And the AI models are learning on that. I see the questions in your eyes, but this is very dangerous. And then they can create totally wrong data, absolutely right everything. And that's why we are just on the beginning. But the startups which we saw during the NRF are doing exactly that. And I'm really happy to see that, because this means they're doing the homework. First, research and scientific part of that, and then continuing into the marketing areas and business areas. So this is related to the AI and startups. Related to the self-service, I think self-service is still very important. And I think it will become even more important in the upcoming years. And you could see that during the NRF show, because there are still lots of self-service systems with new ideas, with combinations of AI systems, where you combine certain AI ideas and features in order to protect the sales process, like a fraud detection, in order to do the sales better, to recognize products and so on. So there is a lot of combination nowadays between AI and self-service. But what I'm actually really expecting in the upcoming, let's say, 1 or 2 years, this will maybe surprise you. I'm expecting that self-service systems like self-checkout disappear completely. Really, that we will not have them anymore. And why? Because I think the most powerful self-service solution you have in your pocket. Why do I need a self-checkout, like a big clumsy and box, in the store with everything? I could do the self-service with my phone. I have it in my pocket. So I can go into the store, pick up the items, do the self-service, like scanning, paying, and going out. I don't need self-checkout. I don't need even traditional POSs. For what? The checks, like attendance people which are there, which could check the baskets, they could do that absolutely on the same way if the customer did the self-scanning with a phone as well. So that's why I'm expecting that very soon the stores will recognize that and say, why investing in expensive self-checkouts? I can just invest in a self-checkout app which is running on the phone, and the customer can self-scan himself and finish the process. So that's why I think self-scanning will become, or self-service will become, even bigger. And the next big stage in the evolution is to eliminate self-checkouts completely.
Interesting. We'll see. I like the first one about the emails. I think that's gonna help a lot.
Good idea, right?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great for cold outreach. So it doesn't seem that cold anymore.
Yes, but you know what can happen as well? It can happen that the amount of spam mails increase by that, because it will be very difficult to recognize what is spam and what is not spam, because the mails will be very personalized, and some kind of machines, even if they are AI powered, we'll have a trouble to recognize if this is now spam or is it really somebody writing mail to me because I wanted to get some information or whatever. So I think this is the flip side of the medal,
Yeah, but I still think it will be a lot of like interesting to me, at least, to test it out.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Darko, for your insights. And Dušan, were buyers that you spoke to like more interested in automation, cost reduction, or speed to market?
Well, it's definitely a mix, but if I had to pick one that stood out, I'd say it's automation for the sake of speed, because retailers are realizing that they can move with enough speed if they are doing everything manually. Yes, of course, everyone wants to reduce costs. That is basically the retail 101. But the big takeaway for me from the NRF is actually how much people care about the self-service right now, as Darko mentioned. But not just in a way, here is a kiosk, but in a way, okay, how do we make this easy enough or fast enough that the customer doesn't even feel the technology while using it? Uh, they also want to get their solution live much faster. And I believe that that era of 2 years IT project is over now, and everyone's looking for that speed to market.
Yeah, as expected. Thank you, Dušan. So, yeah, we talked about, startups, self-service quite a lot, and the retail technology stack, but technology alone doesn't create advantage. What really matters is how fast actually can they detect changes and how quickly they can adapt to it, meaning act on it. But this brings to something like another important NRF signal, which is social media, micro influencers, and AI-driven trend detection. So this is like where micro influencers and AI-driven trend detection comes into play. And what do you think, Milan, about this trend radar that came up several times at NRF? How do you see this social trend detection evolving from a marketing activity into like a real retail software stack?
Yeah, it's definitely, as you mentioned, it's moving from marketing to the core retail system. And I could say that in practice, this means three things. First thing is that trend detection is becoming data input, not the presentation. What does it mean? It means that the signals that are received from the TikTok, Instagram, search, or marketplace, they are entering directly into the forecasting, replenishment, and a pricing system, not only in marketing dashboards, as it used to be the case in the past. Second point, it's switch from, so to say, periodical review or insights of the elements to the real-time signals. What does it mean? Instead of quartal trend reports, retail software start working with the week, but early signals. And these early signals are actually automatically launching the actions which lead to test assortment, local orderings, or quick changes of the pricing. Then the third point would be middleware and AI orchestration, because Trend Radar is becoming a service in a stack, event-driven, API-based with clear rules when trend can influence the operations and when it's just a signal. This is why we have to introduce this risk control, audits, and limitations. So social trends detection is not any longer what is popular, but it becomes operational trigger in the retail software, becoming another source of the data, which is directly influence the stock prices, availability, following the strict rules and responsibilities.
Wow, so it's not just about marketing anymore. Okay, and Darko, what do you think? Working with micro-influencers sounds kind of simple on paper since they are micro, but at scale it becomes an operational challenge. So do you see this becoming a centralized capability? Similar how, Milan mentioned retailer centralized pricing, inventory, or compliance.
Or there are so good points in that topic. Let me come back first to the area and the question around the trends and recognizing the trends and working with them, because this is the base actually for micro influencers or influencers or whatever. So it's a base for the social network strategy and even for the retail strategy. So first, I think even that topic, like recognizing the trends, is coming from China. Although maybe it's not directly visible like that, but the companies which started reactive business on the trends are actually Chinese companies like Shein, Temu, and so on. They are scanning the trends, reacting on the trends, and making huge profits because they are very fast and able to react on the trends. So this means that other retailers saw that, and they recognize that if they are able as well to react very fast on the trends, they could make additional business. So that's the reason why the market is today thinking about trends very much, because they can make new money. But imagine how big technical issue or technical problem is to recognize the trends, because we don't have just one social network, we have several social networks. We have lots of users of those social networks and billions, even trillions of posts each day on all of those networks. Now imagine how capable the systems have to be in order to scan all those posts and then to recognize which of those posts are creating trends. And the earlier they do that, the earlier can business react. So this means if the trend is already very visible and everybody is doing something, it's too late already, because if the retailer starts producing something or selling something at that time point, it's already too late, because it's already, he needs some time to produce, and if he is finished, there is another trend already. So this means important is prediction of the trends. And the prediction can be done, of course, only if you have all those data and very smart systems which are capable of predicting something. Perfect for AI. So this means from the technical point of view, we see already now the systems which are basically coming from China, which are able to, and not anymore, but the first systems were from China, which are capable of analyzing millions, trillions of posts and recognizing the trends. And this engine, which is now created in the Western part of the world as well, is now core of the many different tools which are used in retail, not just in the fashion retail, but in other areas as well. So that's why I think this is the first and the most important part if you want to create certain marketing strategies on top. And now that on top could be to work with influencers, of course. And influencers means you have one person which is able to reach lots of persons. And that's what we had till yesterday. Till yesterday, we had exactly this kind of marketing and campaigns where one person is distributing, let's say, the campaign to many persons. This is influencer. But now the world is changing, and we see the changes coming again from the China. The world is getting like that. So this means you have lots of influencers, and each of them is capable of reaching the smaller amount of the people. So this is basically the turnaround of the concept. But why would somebody turn around the concept and use it like that? You could think that this is better than that, but actually it's not, because this means you don't have a relationship to each of them, and not the tight relationship, the close relationship. This means if you are the micro influencer, that you have very close relationship to your followers. And that's why the value of the micro influencers is getting bigger and bigger, because the retailers want to have the value of the relationship between micro influencer and the follower. Influencer cannot have that, but micro influencer can. So that's why they are starting to work with micro influencers. But as those guys cannot reach lots of them, you need lots of micro influencers. And now imagine millions of posts, millions of micro influencers, and millions of, not millions, but many of different social networks. How to manage all that? How to define the campaigns which are good for the group or clusters of the certain micro influencers? What to give them? How to pay them? how to get the feedback from them, how to collect money later if you are doing that kind of some kind of affiliation program or partnering program or whatever. This is not easy topic, especially if you have many of them. And suddenly you need additional tools and technologies which are not only recognizing the trends, but which are able to work with all those micro-influencers which are accessing then followers to the relationship. And now you can be, of course, surprised, as I was. You will not find that many solutions in the western part of the world which are able of or capable of or providing the features to work with micro-influencers. Even during the trade show, it was not easy to find the companies which are doing that. I found some of them, and one of them was on the Alibaba booth, and it was Chinese company. So it's logical. This complete trend, which is changing the way how the retailers are working with the masses, is pushed actually and coming from the China. And even that way of working with the micro-influencers as well.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
Wow. It is really wow. If you see the quantities of the data, I was impressed, because it's not 2 micro-influencers or 5. There are millions of them. And then with one click, you just send campaigns which are then targeted automatically to each of them. So not bad.
Yeah, that sounds great. Dušan, what about you? From your conversations at NRF, are retailers actually ready to operationalize this, or are they still experimenting with influencer campaigns? You're muted.
Sorry, my bad. To be honest, my opinion is that most of them are still in silos. I saw some amazing technology for the trend detection, basically a tool that shows you what's going to or what's blowing up on TikTok before it's sold out. It's a great, amazing, very useful tool, but I believe that the gap is actually in the logistics, because it's one thing to know when or if something is trending on TikTok or any other social media. For example, again, it's one thing to know, for example, when a green dress is going to be blowing up on TikTok, but it's completely another thing to move that green dress in your top 50 stores by next Monday. So I can say that retailers are doing a great job of the marketing part of the influencers, but they are still figuring out the way how to actually connect those social media data or social data into their supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you know how difficult that is? Let me give you an example. Today in the morning, one of my daughters came to me and told me, Dad, I saw that every person in the Western Europe or Western part of the Europe has a bird as a picture on the wall. And she was going around the home, looking if we have a bird somewhere in the home. And we really have. So this is, of course, probably coincidence or something like that. But we had bird on the wall. And now this is, I asked her, why are you doing that? And she just told me, everybody on TikTok is checking in the moment in the Western Europe if they have bird as a picture on the wall. Great moment. If I could sell the birds, as a pictures to put them on the wall, it would be the great moment. But who can predict that? Who can imagine that today in the morning, the kids will look for the birds on the walls? Nobody. So I don't know if the systems could ever predict these kind of trends. But it seems that companies are working on a solution which are capable of doing that. So it's a really exciting area to talk about.
Yeah, but they can also create trends, not just...
Do you have bird on the wall? Picture of the bird?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I'm not a fan of birds.
Dušan, and you? Any birds
I'm not sure. I would have to check. I'm not sure.
This typical man answer, I have no idea what's hanging on my walls. Something. So.
Yep.
Very good. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for this interesting conversation about birds. But there's something else more interesting. While AI dominated the conversation at NRF, physical retail was far from being ignored. NRF showed clear shift that brick and mortar is no longer seen as liability, but as competitive advantage when done right. So Darko, why is physical retail gaining importance again in an AI-driven world?
I think there are two reasons for that. And both of them are becoming more important the bigger usage of AI is actually. We are missing certain data. So the AI solutions and everything what we see in the world in the moment is created around data which we have somehow digitally in internet, through the e-commerce, through the social networks. Then we are measuring the trends, we are predicting them. All of those data are actually digital data, and all of those data are not really related to me as a person, only as a reaction on what I'm doing through the browser, for example. But what we are still missing, and AI is actually missing, are the real life data from me as a person. Just imagine the situation the year before, 2025, during the NRF, Milan and I visited one of the startups, and that startup was developing sensors which are actually measuring, are you sweating or not, in front of the shelf. And now imagine the situation, how important this data could be nowadays for certain AI models. So if you are looking at certain products and you are excited about the products, your sweating level is maybe changing because you are excited about that. And this small information can be key information in order to present the products better, or to conclude how are you as a customer actually. Or imagine the things like staying in front of the shelf, looking into the product for 5 minutes, and on the other side, you are looking for just a couple of seconds. Immediately, you can conclude that that product is more important for you, or at least that you are more interested in that product than the other one where you just spent 5 seconds. And this kind of real life physical data can be collected only in the store. So what we see today, and it was visible during the NRF, is that the companies are investing in the infrastructure, sensor-related infrastructure, Internet of Things, so means connections between the sensors, making the sensors smart and so on, in order that the store is capable of collecting much more data than yesterday, and then providing those data to the AI in order to make the certain conclusions. So this is the one part why the physical stores are becoming more and more important. Another part is related to the human experience. Although we love AI, we love the way how it automates certain things. I like to get the personalized messages. Everything is great. But we still love the social connections. We still love to experience something with our senses, to touch something, to try something, and so on. And you can do that only in the store. And that's why I think the stores are changing. On one side, they're becoming, of course, the source of the missing data. And on the other side, they are becoming the place to experience certain things like products or social connections or whatever. And the more AIT is developing, the more will these two parts develop, and the store will become more and more important. I'm absolutely sure that it will be exactly like that, and not that the stores will more close and get less important.
Okay, yeah, I kind of agree. We're all missing that human connection, and that's just AI and wondering what's fake, what's real. Milan,
yeah, this is big point. Sorry, but this is really big point. What is fake and what is real? Nobody can differentiate nowadays anymore.
Yeah, maybe us, but I also heard some, like, it wasn't a study, but like people ask their kids who were born into this social media and AI world, and they show them a video which was AI, but you cannot see that it's AI. And the kids just responded, "Dad, why are you showing me that? That's not real."
Really?
So, yeah, the kids who are born into this, they can already kind of sense, and based on what they're exposed to, what's real and what's not.
That development would be very interesting. I'm very curious to see if this is really developing like that, because this could save us, actually.
Yeah, younger generations for sure.
Yes.
So, Milan, what stores technologies stood out at NRF? Kiosks, self-checkouts, or unified commerce?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we should speak about self-checkout since Darko predicted that they will be gone in a year or two. But
Yes.
yeah, just kidding. I mean, yes, it's.
Feel free to comment.
Say it again?
Feel free to comment, please. We would like to hear.
Sure,
What do you think? Will they disappear, self-checkout?
This is where I want to make the point. I think there will be. It's hard to say, Darko. We spoke about it several times through the different occasions. We can see the cashierless store. We are speaking about AI agents. We are having technologies advancing. So it's really hard to say if they exist, if they will exist, and in which form. I'm sure that they will not disappear in 2 years. I can guarantee you that. But in a longer period of time, it will be interesting to see how all these retail will work. I mean, I can imagine a scenario: you just walk on a street and you are recognized by the different units from the side by using the telephone or chip or network or whatsoever, where they have all the data about you, who you are, your bank details, everything. So you can just simply pick up something and you will automatically be charged. So in this case, there is no self-checkout. But I don't know, this is the future that we are entering. I'm not sure if this is going to happen very soon, but in some future definitely will be, because it goes into that direction, my personal opinion. To answer to your question about the kiosk, self-checkout, and unified commerce, I haven't seen anything new, but I could say that these systems are more mature now. So if we speak about the kiosks, they are not only for ordering any longer. They are the unit they're using for a fallback when there is not enough stuff in the store. Then you can use it as an entering point for the endless aisles and for the return processes. It's a user interface for the elements that POS is not covering. So, for example, if you are entering the store and you want and you buy some stuff, you're getting your regular receipt. But then if you want to enter it for a company receipt, you can go to the kiosk and then use it and print your own invoice for a company and so on. So it has different elements. So the value is in integration with inventory and order management, and not in the kiosk itself. Self-checkout, definitely not a headline story any longer, but it's operationally much more mature. So there is a better shrink control because there is computer vision plus rules like random checks, alarms, limitations, flexible payment flows, seamless integration with the loyalty and digital receipts. So in the other words, less experiment, more stability. And the third point, it was unified commerce. So it's, I think the point is that now we can feel the real implementation, less than a buzzword. It used to be in the previous years. So now we can say it's a single source of truth, meaning that it's one source for us of information for price, stock, customers. And also transaction can appear anywhere, as I already explained, in one channel, then end up in the other one. And there is a less focus on the new POS, but more focus on the shared services and event-driven architecture. So I could say that if we have to draw the line, the technologies in the stores are not only not important by its format, but they are important how seamlessly and reliable they can be and how they are connected with the core system. Because to answer then ultimately to your, but I think we agree about this, Darko, stores, they're becoming nude in a network, not just the world on its own. So I think the stores will exist, equipment in the stores will still exist for a certain period of time, and they have to coexist with everything else that is surrounding us.
Okay, that sounds quite complex, but thank you for your insight.
But Dunja, you know,
simplified. I'm not sure why you think it's complex. I think I was just trying to explain all the topic in the very few details, but I'm sorry if I made it complicated.
No, I'm just saying for me. I'm not saying about the rest of the audience. My apologies now for this, but I would like now to ask something more simpler to Dušan, and I hope it will be simple for me, his answer as well. Were retailers talking more about closing stores or expanding smarter ones?
This was actually one of the favorite parts of the NRF for me, and I can say that the retail apocalypse talk is officially over. No one is talking about closing their doors. They keep talking about opening new ones, opening better ones, smarter ones, and the energy and I can say the vibe there was very much our stores are our best asset. They are looking at their stores as the showrooms or as the places to the brand experience. And the goal now is not to have more square footage, but to have smarter square footage. By that I mean the place where the technology will be placed, of course, and handle all of those boring tasks in the stores, so the staff can actually focus on what's important, and that is to talk with the customers, to help them in the store, and so on and so on.
Okay, great. Thank you. I understood everything.
Dunja, I would really like to ask our audience. We had some very hard commitments. Like one commitment was self-checkout system will disappear. Do you agree actually with that? Milan just said for sure not, at least not in mid-term, like 12 to 24 months. And I can kind of agree with him. Maybe, but if you think about the speed of the development of AI, everything can be possible. So what about our audience? Do you agree with the fact, or not fact, the idea that the self-checkout system will completely disappear and will be exchanged or swapped or whatever by mobile devices? Let's see that. If you are following us now, today, in this moment, tell me, what do you think? Self-checkouts dying or not? Because if you ask the manufacturer of the self-checkouts, they will tell you, no, we will continue and there will be just new features, and kind of I can agree with that, but I'm not sure.
Well, we are waiting for the audience to join us, or at least to raise the question or agree or disagree. I'm thinking about this Amazon Go. So Amazon Go in general is a self-checkout itself. Just you have to go inside that self-checkout and then finalize everything. So it will evaluate in some direction. So we'll see.
Exactly, that's exactly what I need. But to be honest, I made also prediction which was totally wrong. A couple of years ago, I predicted that the traditional POSs will disappear. And the story that I told was the same. So why do you need traditional POS? Every cashier can use the mobile phone. And nowadays we see stores which are using the mobile phones, for example, Apple, to run the sales process, but we still have traditional point of sales as well. So I was wrong. So probably, or I don't know, maybe in this case I'm wrong as well. Or retail needs more time to adapt to that kind of huge changes, like when systems are disappearing completely. I don't know. So nobody is answering. Nobody has opinion if this will really happen or not. Okay, let's continue in that case. I wanted to argue it, to explain and so, but no chance to do that.
Well, I don't think it will disappear because you have older people who go to stores. They don't have their mobile phones, or if they do, it's not a smart one.
Define the older people, but be careful if you do that.
I'm just gonna continue now. So what became very clear at NRF is that
Gen Z. So that's the point. Yes. Okay.
Is that omnichannel is no longer optional. It's operationally complex. So, Darko, if you had to give one strategic recommendation to retailers after NRF, what would it be?
I want to give two, not just one. So the one and the first one would be related to the AI. First, don't think that AI is a magical tool which can increase your profits just like that. You take something and suddenly you have 20% more profit. Certainly, these kind of things can happen if you apply the certain things in a certain way, but it's not that magical tool yet. We see certain developments that it will become very powerful, that it will improve the processes, increase the profits and so on, but it's not yet there. The point is only if you can wait till it's done already, or should you start earlier? So my advice is start already now, start experimenting and learning, because you have to learn what does it mean actually to use AI. But I'm not talking now about ChatGPT, which is correcting your grammar because you didn't, I don't know, translate something on the right way. So you should think about and test and experiment about the tools which are changing the processes in the retail, which are improving the sales processes, improving the customer experiences, and so on. And for that, you need a kind of AI lab. You need the people which are dedicated to that, and then you have to test and to play with that. This is my big advice. Play with AI now, because later, if the others are already implementing it, it will be too late. Very simple. And the second advice is think about the strategy of your physical stores, because I think it's very important now to change the physical stores into the social and experience hubs. Because otherwise the people will go to other places which are more nice for them and they enjoy more, and the retailer will lose the consumers by that, the customers. So on one side, play with AI, make an AI lab or something like that. On the other side, think about the strategy of physical stores and make social and experience hub out of that.
Thank you. I hope that will be useful to our listeners. Now, Milan, what do you say? Where should retailers invest first? AI, infrastructure, or compliance readiness?
Yeah, if we have to put this in order, then definitely infrastructure would be first and mandatory, because without the API first, event-driven and real-time infrastructure, AI will not have quality of data as it's expected and needed to process it further. Unified commerce will not work, and store and digital channels remain in silos. And this actual infrastructure, it's invisible investment, but it's actually enabler for everything else. Then once the infrastructure is in place, I think the compliance is something that has to be done in parallel or immediately after the infrastructure is in place, because fiscalization, tax logic, audit trial, and consent are not the back office topic any longer. AI and headless transactions are affecting it directly, as I already spoke and mentioned during the previous questions. And errors that are the errors in compliance are actually blocking the scale and entering the new markets. And very similar with the topic that Darko mentioned a little bit earlier for the AI, it's same for a compliance. Retailers that postpone that are already one step behind the others. And once we have this in place, compliance and infrastructure, then AI can be introduced, and then we can because then we will have the value such as data will be available in real time. You will have a clear rules and responsibilities, and then system will be able to execute the decisions and not only to show them to the user.
Thank you, Milan. That was very insightful. And Dušan, and my last question is for you. What questions should retailers be asking vendors right now, but they aren't?
That's a great question, and I think they should be asking how easy it is to turn this off if it doesn't work, because we talk so much about locking in a vendor or a big 5-year plan or big 10 years plan, but the retail is changing so fast. I mean, we can just take a look at how much AI has jumped up in the previous 12 months. And instead of asking, can you do everything? They should ask, how well do you play with others? Because in the time that we are living in right now, in 2026, you don't need a vendor who does everything, but you need a vendor who fits into your ecosystem without basically disrupting it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Dušan. And well, I want to thank all three of you for joining me today and sharing your valuable insights. I believe that NRF 2026 made one thing clear, that retail is becoming more intelligent, more automated, hence more complex. AI agents, smart stores, and global omnichannel operations all depend on strong infrastructure and compliance foundations to scale sustainably. So thank you for joining this NRF Recap edition of Retail Talks. Follow Fiscal Solutions for more insights from the intersection of retail technology, compliance, and global expansion. Thank you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.